Hey everybody, welcome to Talk Crypto, the show where we try and bring the latest news and break down some of the more complex themes and bring those sort of conversations and try and make it simple and easy to understand. I don't know if I've just explained that very well or not, but you get the gist. Listen, guys, this is a new show. If you like what you see, if you like what you watch, you get any value out of it, give us a like and really appreciate if you can subscribe to the show. Really appreciate we're a new show. And yeah, all your encouragement and support would be greatly appreciated. But listen, let's dive into it. This is talking about midnight. And I think I want to do a series of videos trying to really break it down and understand some of the, I guess, themes, why, and all the rest of it. There was certainly a lot of uncertainty in the community, in the Cardano community, about what it is, what it's going to mean for Cardano and all the rest of it. And just to backtrack slightly, and just to put a caveat, well, just something to be aware of. Right at the end of the video, guys, I'm going to leave you with a little golden nugget, which I think is going to be potentially invaluable. So make sure you watch it to the end because it's something which I'm sort of picking up and tuning into. So without further ado, let's just dive into it. Let me just say firstly, the main project I've been talking about, well, no, it's not really a project. It's an anomaly. It's Bitcoin. You can't call it really a project. It's just it's something else, and that's really what I've been talking about mostly, because it is it's just something. It's never been seen before, and it's just absolutely phenomenal. Now, Cardano. I'm a massive fan of Cardano. I've obviously been in this space since 2020, and Charles Hoskinson was one of the guys that just sort of blew me away in terms of his sort of I guess the way he goes about his project, and the way he went about sort of doing it in a very sort of methodical, thoughtful way. I won't bang on about it right now, but rest assured, it's a project which is second to none, and the potential is absolutely ridiculous. Now, when Midnight was announced recently, there was initially a lot of uncertainty, concern that maybe Charles was being distracted with some other coin, or maybe his team IOHK was being distracted, and all the rest of it. There was some sort of talk about people didn't quite understand what Midnight is, and really I want to do like a series of videos because there's lots of questions I still don't have the answers to, and I'm going to try and break it down over I don't know, in the next sort of week or so, with a series of videos to sharing what I'm sort of uncovering, with discovering, and I want to try and share it with you. Ultimately, I want to know more about Midnight, and anything I find out, I want to try and sort of give that knowledge to you as well. So one of the biggest misconceptions that was first out there was it was a side chain of Cardano or some other layer 2 or something like that. So so cut to the chase, it's its own standalone blockchain. Now, for some of the Cardano community, there's obviously that concern. Well, hang on a second, IOHK, who are behind Cardano, they're now being distracted, or Charles has been distracted by doing another project and another coin. I think what we've got to start thinking about as people in the space, and whatever floats your boat in terms of the crypto projects that you support, ultimately interoperability and collaboration is the future. And I think Midnight is part of that process that we've got to start understanding, that we're not living in a siloed world where there's Cardano and we're fighting against Solana or another project, or Team A against Team B. There's a lot of conflict, particularly in the crypto space. Everyone's sort of cheering for their own team. It's quite weird, really, but ultimately, I guess people have vested interest, financially. And yet, if we all supported the community as a whole, the community would probably be a lot stronger, for that. But that maybe is just the inevitable sort of path that crypto has to go through. And there will be winners and there will be losers, and that's just the reality. But I think the winners are going to be the projects that have a collaborative approach, and that really push interoperability. So, because ultimately, one of the biggest questions in my mind when Midnight came along was, well, why can't Cardano do that? Why can't Cardano have privacy baked in to the core? And I don't have the full answer to that yet, so I'll put it out there. But I was just digesting a recent video that Charles did, and I just want to break that down. So, firstly, if you're a Cardano holder, you will benefit from Midnight. So that's really important that you're aware of that. So I think the key takeaway of this whole video is actually Midnight is a massive plus. It's a win for the Cardano community, and it's a win for the wider adoption and the crypto space. The reason I say it's a win for the Cardano community is, well, there's several reasons. One is every Cardano person who probably we don't know yet how it's going to be distributed, but basically every Cardano holder is going to be distributed Midnight, which they're going to be calling Dust. Dust is the token. Now, how that is going to be distributed, when, and all the rest of it, who knows? But I would have thought it's going to. Well, it is. It's going to be the adder holders and the stake pool operators. But what you got to think is, if you're adder holder, are you actually staking and supporting the Cardano network? Because I suspect it'll be those people who are rewarded with Dust. So if you're just sort of putting it on an exchange and holding it there, and maybe getting rewards via the exchange or whatever it is, I don't know. I don't know if you're going to get rewarded with Dust, which is the Midnight token. So something to be mindful of and start thinking about, because ultimately I guess it's thinking about, are you as a holder supporting the ecosystem of Cardano? You are if you're staking on the network with a stake pool operator, and you are obviously if you're a stake pool operator supporting the network. So think about that, and it's worth thinking about probably quite soon. And yeah, if you're not, why not? I mean, come on. So that aside, so running through, like I said, a video. So that's one of the main reasons, we're going to be, the Cardano community, the people who hold Cardano is going to win. So we're going to get rewarded. Dust shouldn't be thought of as a separate sort of project. Well, it is a separate project, but not as a threat, if that makes sense. We're looking to collaborate. We're looking to build a bigger, stronger ecosystem together. So let me just break down some of the points in the video. So Charles was talking about the massive, massive need for privacy. Now, he was talking about freedom of association, freedom of commerce, and freedom of expression. I've just got some notes that I'm just referring to. And and there's those sort of three core points. Now, I would love to really, I guess my next step in terms of breaking Midnight down is understanding why privacy can't be baked into Cardano. So like I said, I don't have the answer to that, but that's something I'm going to sort of try and discover. And he did touch on the point with privacy coins at the moment, and I'm skipping some of my notes, but it's relevant to this, is that the problem with the privacy coins at the moment, they only keep the transactions private, and it has a sort of a limiting sort of functionality. So there isn't at the moment like a smart contract, which allows an element of, what did he call it? He called it, I guess it was privacy and confidentiality. So if you can think about possibly where let me have a look. I'm just going to refer to my notes. Yeah, okay, that's right. So yeah, he was talking about regulated activity. So the typical one is you wouldn't expect your bank to disclose to your neighbor all your transactions. You want that, you expect there's the element of privacy, correct? So that, I guess, so in a way, the existing privacy coins, they just hide it. But a bank in a financial sort of global world which has to sort of abide by regulations and all the rest of it. They may get a court summons or however you want to call it, depending on your jurisdiction or country or whatever, a subpoena in America, I believe it is, to disclose what's happening in your bank account. So although they're not going to disclose your spending habits to your neighbors, if they get a subpoena, if they get a court order or something like that, then they do have to disclose that information to the authorities. And what I think Charles was talking about is effectively a privacy smart contract, effectively, which allows things to be private, but if need to be, there's an element that enables things to open up based on regulation and requirements, effectively fitting in with the real world that we live in today. That's the reality. And again, having that type of functionality doesn't exist at the moment. So that will be a game changer in terms of the, I guess, ability to put that into a smart contract, to put that on a blockchain, and to enable that functionality to happen. So that was quite interesting. Again, why Cardano itself can't do that, don't know. I'm going to be doing a little bit more digging into that. But it sounds to me, again, from everything I've been listening to, and there's more research I want to be doing and sharing with you, it's almost like Cardano is almost going to become like the base layer for crypto. It's, forget about these layer 1, layer 2, whatever. It's almost like the machine, the engine that powers, the thing that's secure, decentralized, can't be manipulated, can't be broken. It's almost like the rock. So that's how I'm sort of seeing Cardano. And I think what we're going to see are other projects who plug in, if that's the easiest way to describe it, into the Cardano machine. And, one of which is Midnight. And like I said, if you wait to the end of the video, I want to share something which is really relevant and sort of along this point. But let me just go back to some of the other points. Yeah, again, he was talking about, why we want to protect people. So again, why is Midnight being created? Well, firstly, it's not just coming out of thin air. They've been working on this for 4 years. So this has clearly been in the pipeline for a long time. And it's clearly a problem that exists and they're trying to solve it. So it's going to be really interesting to see, how things emerge and evolve as time goes on. But the point was, Cardano and the projects that are sort of building on the Cardano ecosystem, I think he was saying there's something like 150 countries they're in, and obviously not all of these countries have things like the rule of law. So it's almost as though having this type of security and privacy baked into the network, into Midnight, is there really to try to protect people against authoritative, nation states. So again, it's really fundamental stuff. It's way more than many other projects that are out there, to be honest with you. And it's absolutely core to us as human beings, us as having privacy, us as having human rights, and it's trying to have real foundational principles and important, I guess, essential components to help people effectively. So that was quite interesting. Yeah, and again, he was making the point of how, people are sometimes under the misguided illusion that things on the blockchain are private, but if anything, things can be any further from the truth. And I think he gave the analogy of he was able to sort of spin up a VR experience to see every transaction that happened on Bitcoin ever. So, you imagine having all your transactions that you've ever done, or your Google search history that you've ever done being, viewable by somebody. You probably don't want that. So I guess, it's that foundational principle of, as human beings, we have a right to privacy, and a right to sort of our own autonomy within possibly a structured approach where we live in certain countries which we may have to fit into their regulated environments, i.e. the banking sector, i.e. you can have your banking records private. Your neighbour's not going to know about what you're spending in money or how much you earn. But if there was a court order that needs to, you've been up to no good, and they want to sort of see what you've been up to, then there's that sort of ability to do so. And I guess that's the world we live in. So what else was there? So his point was when you create a new coin, a new crypto project, it needs certain things. It needs decentralization, it needs security, it needs infrastructure, it needs liquidity, and it needs an ecosystem. Cardano has all of that. Now, Midnight can benefit from that, of course. But like any relationship, it's got to be a two-way street. And I think the point is we can create a stronger ecosystem by benefiting existing Cardano holders, by supporting Midnight in terms of rewarding stake pool operators and in terms of rewarding Cardano stakers, and interoperability and making the whole ecosystem stronger is going to be the future. Now, I said, and it's interesting actually because he was talking. Sorry, I'm going to just go on about one more thing. He said also about how you can possibly bring in other staking mechanisms within the Midnight sort of protocol. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this all evolves and what other projects could possibly come in. And I think part of the reason I suspect Midnight was born was because they wanted to showcase and be leaders in terms of collaborating. So rather than creating a side chain or a layer 2 or whatever it is, it's like, Midnight is its own blockchain, but we want to demonstrate how blockchain projects should work and collaborate together. And this is what I wanted to talk about, which I mentioned at the beginning, which I think is going to be the golden nugget for you to really, really take stock of. Now, there was another video he did, and I think sometimes when we watch videos, we don't always necessarily, we hear it, but we don't listen. He was talking about and this was at different points of the conversation. He was talking about, as you may well know, a collaboration that they're looking to do with Polkadot. Fantastic. Again, another example of two different crypto projects looking to collaborate and making the ecosystem stronger and better together. Later on in the conversation, he then talked about how the tech world came together with I think it was, who was it? Microsoft. In all honesty, it doesn't matter who it was. But let's just say it was Microsoft. It was Microsoft. I'm sure it was Microsoft. Microsoft and Apple. And one was on its knees, and the other sort of came to help. And together they were going to be much more powerful. And if we look at the world now, the tech ecosystem only consists of a few powerful, incredible companies. You've got Apple, you've got Microsoft, you've got Amazon, you've got Facebook. There's a few. There's not that many. And I was wondering, when he was describing Apple at the time when they were, on the floor, financially struggling, and obviously Apple as they are now, but thinking about, was he actually referring to Polkadot? Because he obviously thinks very highly of this project and of the team and Gavin Wood and all the rest of it, as indeed I do. But was he deliberately giving the analogy of Microsoft and Apple when Apple was really, really struggling, coming together and forming something much more powerful and stronger together in a better ecosystem? And then with this collaboration that we heard about, it was like, so when we listen, or when we hear something, we don't always listen, or we don't always take stock of what that meaning is behind all the words that somebody's using. So my thought was, I wonder if he's deliberately given that analogy because he can see Polkadot maybe struggling. I don't know. I'm not saying they are. I'm not saying they're not. But ultimately, there's Polkadot, Cardano coming together to form a powerful beast. And let's be real, guys. The tech world has a few massive players. And I think the crypto space will be very, very similar. There won't be, I mean, there might be thousands of projects, but they're not going to be fundamentally the big boys. There's going to be a handful, I suspect, of major players, like the Amazons, like the Apples, like the Microsofts, or, you know, whatever. But there's not going to be many. So the question is Cardano going to be that beast? And I think it will be. And I think, well, I'm really excited about it. Polkadot will be in there. There'll be the fact that they are forward thinking enough to be wanting to collaborate with Cardano, I think that's a very, very positive sign for them. So it's going to be a really, really interesting world. We're going to have probably Cardano as the big engine, the beast, and then we'll have other fundamental core projects building on, you know, almost on top of the machine that is Cardano. And you know, we'll have the privacy element that's baked in. We'll have, you know, whatever Polkadot doing. Maybe smaller little niche little things that may be built on top, you know. But it's all going to be probably, we'll see, almost like one ecosystem that uses this powerful engine that's Cardano. And you know, with decentralization and interoperability, and you got your privacy built in. I think it's slightly mind blowing what I think could pan out. But I think if you're a Cardano holder, I think don't be afraid of midnight. I think this is just a really good step in that bigger journey. That we're going to create an even bigger ecosystem for Cardano and for, you know, everything, and that sort of whole world that we're in. So I'm so bullish on Cardano. I can't quite sort of probably express my sentiment enough. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. It's quite late at night. But I wanted to get this video out because it's been on my mind for a few days. But I didn't want to just, you know, and I don't feel like I've probably done it justice. I'm going to continue to try and dive into some of those questions that I don't have answers to. Try and understand fundamentally why can't Cardano have privacy baked into it. Maybe try and speak to some, you know, people within the space, maybe try and get some interviews, things like that. So I'm really excited to dive into this in a lot more depth. But obviously, whatever information we often get, we're getting maybe just a snippet. We're just getting a little teaser. There's often a lot more that's happening under the hood. And I think when we can listen and not just hear, we can maybe sort of capture those little golden nuggets or little insights that otherwise may have slipped past us. So listen, guys, something to think about, something to be excited about. Yeah, I'm pleased I've got this video out there. Hopefully you've got some value out of it. Hopefully it gets you seriously thinking. Yeah, tune in. I'm going to do more of these midnight deep dives and understanding what the hell is going on. Because like you, I'm just trying to figure it all out as well. So guys, really appreciate it. If you're still here, give us a like, give us a subscribe. Really appreciate it. And I can't wait to catch up with you for the next one. Take care.